Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. This is going to be the Bitcoin chart, fundamental and technical analysis for December 7th, 2021. So there is an interesting way to look at this chart if you guys are looking at the trend, and that's actually to look at the trend from the last low point, which is actually July 20th, 2021. It bottomed at around a little bit under 30,000. Now, look at the other points that we've had right here. So this point is actually on September 29th, we dumped from about 50,000 to about 40,000 right here. And then, of course, our latest low point, which we're slowly rising from right now, is about 40. I mean, it dumped down to 42 over here. But, like TradingView basically says 49. But it did actually dump down to 42, but still not quite as low as this. So if you actually draw like a curve, you can't really draw a straight line because 42 is, the flash crash to 42 is here. I saw it actually hover around 46. Like I saw it like suddenly bounce back and hover around 46, 47 for a while. So that's where I'm going to make this point right here. So if you actually try to draw like an outward curve, it doesn't really work. You'd have to draw kind of like an inverse curve right here to actually make it work. And right now, like basically what this is actually saying is like, yes, this top and this top, there's a difference, but the next top will be higher than 66,000, but it won't be the difference between 51,000 and 66,000, which means the next top, which would actually be the top for maybe this like short cycle in Bitcoin, would actually be around $75,000 or less, maybe even around 72,000 or so. So if you actually draw this inverted curve here, like this, and 46,000 here, yes, it hasn't quite reached the top yet, and the next bottom will probably be around 50,000. And if you draw like the same curve here from this top to this top to this top, you can see it's going to be around 72, 73,000. And it will probably hit in a couple of weeks, maybe before December. If you actually believe in like kind of like drawing curves and lines from this section on, from our last kind of like local low in July. So that's kind of like what happens if you actually look at it. Obviously, if you look at like, from earlier this year, it's going to be a little bit better. And if you try to draw straight lines, it's going to be a lot better. But maybe that's like another thing you should actually take into account, that like, according to like, if you just draw from July, the line from this July, it doesn't look quite as good. And it seems like we might actually top out at 72,000 and maybe go into a little bit of a lull bear market after that for the beginning of next year. The thing is, like, the 4-year cycle might actually have to be done away with soon, because I can see like kind of like one cycle right here from basically December to July, another cycle from basically July to maybe December, and then like maybe we'll dump down to like 40, 35,000, and then from like maybe I would say April or May to like next November will be in another like shorter cycle. So we might get these like shorter cycles of slight rise instead of like massive bull runs from now on. I can kind of see that happening with institutional investment actually coming in. So like maybe this cycle's top will be 72,000, and then like after we start recovering again in April or May, we might actually get a top of like 80,000. You'll have to take your chances at that. So it would require a lot more trading and maybe picking like the cryptos that are actually hot during that time, which would probably be NFTs right now. So NFTs and gaming coins right now. So that's kind of like the chart analysis that I would actually see here. Now for the more technicals, on the daily, the RSI and the stochastic is neutral. The commodity channel index is a buy. It's oversold at over negative 100. There's not a strong directional trend either way. The oscillator is actually more negative than it has been, indicating that we are moving towards a more negative trend. But right now, it is still like very, very neutral at this point. The moving averages are going to tell you to sell because we've been pretty negative this month, especially in the dip last week. So the 10-day moving average is sell. The exponential is lower than the simple. Same thing kind of for the 20 and the 30. So momentum on the moving averages seems to be shifting towards sell. And we do have a little bit backing of that because yesterday was actually higher than today, and we're moving towards 50,000. So I wonder if we'll actually hold 50,000. If we bounce up from 50,000, we'll probably retest 60. If we bounce down, we might actually retest 40. So to me, I am cautiously optimistic right now. I do think like it is sort of bullish for the next 2 weeks, but after that, towards the end of the year for Christmas and the beginning of the next year, I'm a little bit more pessimistic for that. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's kind of the way I analyze it right now. In terms of the weekly, we're still kind of at neutral or at a buy for the moving averages because like besides the 10-week moving average, which is very, very heavily tilted towards this particular week, everyone on all the other moving averages, the exponential is actually greater than the simple, which means the momentum is still positive. The oscillators are completely neutral. There's really nothing going on with the oscillators on the monthly. On the weekly. On the monthly, like the further timeline out you get, the more strong it is for a buy, obviously. The exponential obviously is going to be less than the simple on the 10 month, but on the 20, 30, and obviously 50 months, it's going to be a fairly strong buy. And the oscillators are pretty much neutral. So like based on their statistics, it's a strong buy for the month. I only think it's a fairly strong buy for like the next 2 weeks. Based on what I look at it, because generally the last week, maybe the last week and a half of each month is generally not too great for crypto. There's a lot of stuff going on with like options expiry. It's much, much harder to actually predict the last week of crypto. So when I look for crypto rises, I look for maybe the first 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks of each month for the rise. So I'm still cautiously optimistic for the next 2.5 weeks, but then I'm more neutral or slightly pessimistic for the last week of the year. And then the new year, I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to see how the markets actually move until then. So the thing is, the big thing I wanted to mention is that there is a good argument for the fact that the 4-year cycle might actually be slowly becoming obsolete. And we're going to be into more like 6-month cycles, 6-month to a year cycles, where we're like, bullish for X amount of time, bearish for X amount of time. Overall, the bulls will win out in the long term, but we might go down, go up to 72,000, 75,000 next time, then go down to like maybe 45,000 and then swing back up to about 85,000, then go back down to 50,000, and we'll just like revolve around that for the next year or two. That's definitely possible. And in that trend, trading actually might become more profitable than just holding. Unless you're really willing to hold for like several years straight, then holding is more of a surefire deal. So that's kind of like where I see it for right now. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.